Just like pouring oil.
Yeah.
Just a touch.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Sawyer Studios, and I'm doing another Nate and Bake episode. This time I have a guest on my channel. You might have recognized him before. He's been on a couple of videos. We built a TIE fighter together virtually, but this is my very good friend, Mr. May. Mr. May, we're making his recipe of, or not your recipe? Is it your recipe?
Today we're making a Maine feast.
There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be hitting you up with three things. So we're going to start out with some fried oysters, and we'll get into how special these fried oysters are later.
They're going to be really special.
Following it up with some seafood chowder. And then, to finish, we're going to go with blueberry margaritas.
Yeah.
Of course, because we are, in fact, theming this after Maine. Now, Maine is very special to Mr. Sawyer. I recently got back from my honeymoon in Maine with my wife. Shout out to Mrs. May. And Nathan has grown up going to Maine his whole life.
My dad grew up in Maine. He grew up in Bar Harbor. He used to live there, and so I'd probably visit twice a year, honestly. And it used to be really nice until freaking tourists took over. We both love Maine food, and we're not making like some dumb seafood chowder out of a can. Like, this is from scratch, everyone. So it's gonna be amazing. What are we making first?
We're going to start with what's called. So let's go. Starting with the fried oysters.
Yes.
The very first thing we're going to do, these are not, so traditionally fried oysters are served, fried of course, with something called a remoulade. And a remoulade is kind of like a spicy Cajun mayo, and it's very good. We're not going to do that today though.
When I was in Maine, I went
To this place, shout out to the Eventide Oyster Company. And actually, my favorite dish that I had there was something that they gave to me for free once they found out that we were on our honeymoon. And it was fantastic. This was something, now they said it was with this thing called Nuoc Cham, which is this like Vietnamese kind of condiment with fish sauce and chilies and sugar, and it's really good. But when I tasted it, I realized that it wasn't really Nuoc Cham. It's actually more of like a Thai green curry. So what we're going to do is make this really nice remoulade, but instead of a Cajun remoulade, we're going to make a green curry Nuoc Cham, and we'll see how that turns out, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm going to try my best. We're going to try our
This
best.
is the first time we're making.
Yes, to recreate this dish.
Made this.
I wrote up a recipe that I think is going to copy this. We'll find out. Nathan, we've got cilantro right here. This is actually a really big thing when it comes to green curries. We have a lime. It's got to cut up. We have a Thai green chili. We're going to have to cut up some Thai basil, which is embarrassingly still in the packaging. Now, I'm probably just cutting up one of these. So I'm actually going to leave this because we're going to see the whole leaves again later. And we have, so this recipe that I follow comes from, well, me. But in the recipe, in most Thai green curries, you use lemongrass a lot. Now, for some reason, Wegmans did not have lemongrass.
the one time that I needed it.
You were the chosen one!
So, we discovered that lemon thyme is actually a great substitute if you're ever in need of lemongrass. It's not perfect, but it'll get the job done. So we're also going to be cutting up some lemon thyme. Now, the best thing about making a Thai green curry is you always start with a curry paste. And so most of this we're going to be dumping our cut up product right into this blender.
Always cook with fresh ingredients, folks.
That's right. As fresh as you can get. Now some of these herbs I wouldn't say are as fresh, but
Right,
a lot of the stuff that comes from Wegmans is quite good. So I really like to go there for my stuff.
How much cilantro do you think we need?
We are going to need 2 packed cups of it. So
Gosh.
now when you're cutting thyme comes on these stems that there's some flavor in there, but they don't taste so good, and they make it a little bit hard to cut. So I always like to kind of run my finger down the stem and pull off as much of the thyme leaf as I can. If you get a little bit of your stem in there, that's okay, but the leaves taste much better when they don't have that stem attached.
When I'm cutting thyme, I just edit it out of the video. It's just me. Speaking of Mr. Mays, he got me this lovely babish knife for my bachelor gift, or groomsman gift is the word.
Shout out to the Babish cookware line. Honestly, I have so much stuff from it now, and it is a staple in my kitchen. It works just like, I mean, as far as, unlike some things I have which are marketed by certain chefs and are just a name thing, this is something, the Babish cookware line is, oh my gosh. especially these cleft knives. They're fantastic.
Took it right out of the box. It cut through a sheet of paper just clean.
Yep.
It was the most satisfying thing ever.
I'm gonna try, since these are a bit of a different consistency, I'm gonna try to kind of mince mine up pretty fine. But it is smelling lemony. It is. And it's got that savory, which is something that I like about lemongrass. And so since we're not using actual lemongrass, I'm glad there's a little...
It's a pretty good substitute.
Yeah, I'm glad there's a little savory going on.
Honestly, Wegmans was probably like, yo, guys, do we need lemongrass in our stock? And they're like, oh, we got lemon thyme. They're like, eh, that's close enough.
So we got to measure out 2 packed cups. It looks like you probably got enough there.
I think it would just be enough.
Now, Nathan, do you know why we're using Thai basil instead of regular basil?
No, Luke, I do not know why we're using Thai basil instead of regular basil.
So regular basil would be a decent substitute for Thai basil in these Thai green curries. But the beauty of Thai basil is it has it's a little bit sharper, almost like it's got like sort of a bite to it compared to Italian basil is so great because it's almost got this like sweetness that it lends to the stuff that you add it to, but there's like a little bit of a bite to Thai basil.
I see.
And so that's why we had to stick with this. And I was so happy when we actually found this.
Yeah, they almost didn't have this.
They almost didn't have this either.
Luke literally almost had a coronary attack.
Yeah.
There's your little chili. Remember, everyone, size does not matter if the chili is super, super hot.
Yes.
That was not an innuendo at all.
When you're cutting them, always remember that the bulk of the pain is in the seeds. And so when you're cutting a pepper, be very careful that you don't get the seeds all over your fingers.
And then don't forget to wash your hands before going number 1 in the bathroom. 1/4 cup of fresh lime juice.
Nathan, is the lime fresh?
Hey lime, are you fresh?
Idiot.
Also, if you have any smart melting off of your lime, that's another way to know that it is indeed fresh.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce to you a wonderful method. I don't know if this was developed by him or not, but developed by Mythical Chef Josh over at the Mythical Kitchen for getting your garlic. This is known as the palm heel strike. You're going to take literally the palm of your heel. I believe it's some sort of martial arts move, right?
Yeah.
And you go for your garlic and open it up. Then once you've got it open, wow, I did that in 2 strikes. That's a record, I think. So now you can do the same exact thing. Sometimes I'll just kind of cut off the very edges, and then you can hit them with palm heel strike round 2. But this time,
Put the knife.
I like to put the flat of my knife down, and you do the same thing. And that gives you a little smashed garlic clove. Going with a few dry ingredients to this paste. So what we're doing right now, Nathan, Mr. Sawyer, Master Sawyer, excuse me. What we're doing right now is making what's called a curry paste. Now a curry paste is generally very concentrated, so it's not something that you're just going to throw on the stove and warm up and put it over your rice with your whatever you want to eat your curry with. Generally you have to cut it with something, but we mentioned that we're doing a remoulade. So we're going to be cutting it with mayonnaise and a couple other things to turn it into like a mayo curry sauce.
Yeah, it's going to be good, everyone.
If you were to turn this and make a sauce with it, like a hot curry sauce, you would need things like some coconut milk, some chicken stock, and some other ingredients to kind of add some liquid and cut down that paste. All right, so we're going to come in with some of our dry ingredients, Mr. Sawyer. We have ½ teaspoon of some ground cumin. All right, and then we're going to come in with some sugar.
So is this fresh sugar?
I don't know.
Well, we're disappointed.
Yes. Normally people use coconut milk, but one thing I've been testing out lately with these curries is trying coconut cream instead. Whoa! And there goes the liquid that I wanted. Well, the rest of it's in there. And some ginger. Now, if you want, my actual recipe calls for ginger that's been cleaned. The amounts in the description about cleaned and sliced up. But just to make our lives a little easier, we're going to use some ginger paste this time. I know It's not authentic. But you know what? When you're cooking at home, it's okay to cut some corners once in a while.
We make the rules.
Right, we make the rules. We need 1 ounce. So we're gonna do
just a touch.
Yeah, it's not
Just
much.
a touch of ginger.
It's not much. We're gonna eyeball it.
Just a Gordon Ramsay touch.
You fucking don't know.
Nuoc Cham has what in it? It's like a 3-ingredient thing. We added the sugar.
Yeah.
We added the chili. There's one more thing.
I swear I was listening, Mom. Fish oil.
Fish sauce.
Fish sauce.
You surprise me to how shit you.
Correct. Now fish sauce is dangerous, isn't it, Mr. Sawyer?
Oh yeah. Don't want to use too much.
You do not want to use too much of this stuff. But this is not just any green curry. This is our Nuoc Cham green curry. And so we gotta have a little bit of that fish sauce in there.
Oh, that's why.
I put in 1. Should I put in 2?
Yeah.
Okay. First time Mrs. May and I tried this, it scared us. It actually has suction cups on the bottom to keep it from going all over the place.
Gosh.
All right, so it's just your average blender. So what we're gonna do is just kind of pulse it. Oh, I gotta turn it on first.
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
That would be a good idea. And what I like to do at least once during this, we're only going to do it once today, is just kind of shake things up a little. You know, just so that if there's any solids or anything going on in your blender, they'll get shook hopefully to the bottom where they'll get blended. And that ought to do it for us. So let's see what we got here. Hopefully, with any luck, it looks like a paste and it looks green.
It does look green.
It does look.
Confirm that.
Smell test.
Oh yeah.
Taste test. Would you care for a taste test?
Oh yes, I would love a taste.
Little finger dip.
There's a lot of layers there.
There is a lot of layers there. There's heat,
Yeah.
sweetness,
There's
which gives you that Nuoc Cham. And then you have all the different flavors of the green curry. You have that Thai basil, cilantro, all of the garlic, the cumin. Nathan, should we change anything? Should we add anything before we move on?
Does it feel too sweet to you?
It does seem a little sweet.
Yeah.
So we put a half cup of sugar in.
We did. No.
When you see the recipe in the description, it's gonna say a quarter cup of sugar.
How do we counteract sweetness, Mr.
How do we counteract sweetness? Well, the most easy is to do something that we didn't do yet, which is season this thing with salt. There we go, salt and pepper. So we're gonna hit it with some salt.
I feel like we should put some pepper in here.
And hopefully that, yep, you can always season.
Oh my gosh, I just realized these are lightsabers.
They are. One of my favorite little kitchen gifts.
That is amazing.
What?
Oh, that is a lot better. Like the sweetness is still there, but it's no longer overpowering.
Right. So our blender is pretty much done for the day, so he's just gonna hang out. Alright, now we gotta get this stuff.
Blender. Hope you find your dad.
I just realized that I didn't decide on a amount of mayo. What do you think? 2 cups? Or less than that?
Start with 1.5 if you need more.
Start with 1.5. Alright, so
you can always add more. You can't add less.
That is true, and with mayo sauces, you don't want to be in a situation where you have to add less. This is kind of the... I'm sensing that this spoon is a little too big.
You know what? I too have sensed that disturbance in the force.
Yeah. So you know what? We're gonna get rid of this. Bye. So I'm gonna come in with this paste. All right. We're gonna try to. We may not need to add all of it. This is really cool.
Oh yeah.
Really cool looking here.
Look at that. Look at that beauty. My home ec teacher in high school, whenever she'd whisk stuff, she'd always hold it like this, and then she'd talk and instruct us. And that's what she did.
Now that's looking just a little thin.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go that whole 2 cups of mayo. Okay. And this is gonna. You know what? This recipe is gonna make a lot.
Yeah.
So what you can do is just kind of hold on to it. I kind of upscaled it because I like to make sauce in a bigger quantity and then use it on other things. I'll just save it.
Yeah.
It usually stays good for a while. You can save it in in whatever kind of sauce containers you have and use it on other stuff. Every fried food generally has 2 components. You have a wet and a dry.
Yeah.
And the wet Could be anything from like buttermilk to an egg
wash.
Right. We're gonna do a buttermilk liquid wet today, and you'll see
I like
what's
using
in.
buttermilk a lot more than egg
Yes,
wash.
me too.
You usually want the dry bowl to be a little bit bigger than the liquid one.
Yes,
correct?
garlic powder. We're gonna need some smoked paprika. Now, a lot of recipes will call for paprika, but I like to think of smoked paprika as my secret ingredient because I just love the way it tastes. Now, this is something we made up today. This is really special. This is applewood smoked dulce seaweed that we toasted and ground up with a mortar and pestle. So this can actually get used like a spice, and it's gonna kind of bring like a smoky, oceany flavor to these fried oysters.
Lots of sea salt tastes, hints.
Exactly, yeah. And so you get that smokiness. You can see we're kind of smoked paprika, the smoked seaweed, we're going, and this I actually got while I was in Maine. And so it starts out as these big little clumps of like smoked up seaweed, and they're all soft, but you can toast them and break them down really well into this powder. Always make sure you pack your measurements. 1 cup of flour. Also gonna come in with a cup of cornmeal.
Actually, first time Mr. May had an oyster was at my house, and I made them all oyster.
Well, raw
shakers.
oyster.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna come in with our spices. So I have a teaspoon of, there's the garlic powder. Here's that smoked seaweed powder. We've got a teaspoon. Throw a little in just extra in just to be nice, you know. We gotta see if we can test that flavor out. And then,
We like this flavor a lot, so.
yeah. Then we're gonna come in with a teaspoon of the smoked paprika. And lastly, we're gonna hit it with some fresh cracked pepper and kosher salt. But for this one, I actually want to use something a little different because we have it. I love to make my own smoky salt. Since we're going for that smoky flavor, we're gonna season this instead with the smoky salt. So we're gonna add a generous amount of that. Okay,
Mr. May, how do you make smoky salt?
Well, it's my secret blend. It's a trade secret. It's a blend of about 4 or 5 different hardwood smoked salts. That's really good on everything from burgers to curry. It's fantastic. All right.
He's gonna take it to the grave.
I am going to take it to the grave. Why are you cooking at home if you're using pre-made breading, right?
You know what?
So
Exactly.
then what we're going to do is that all together. I am going to use something else. Let's see. I want to use, I don't know. When you're mixing spices into flour, you'll see little pockets of it just appear out of nowhere. Once those pockets are all gone, and it looks like it's all incorporated well, you're fine. Nope. Oops. Sorry. For that wet portion of dredge, we're coming in with some buttermilk and a couple other things. So,
Have you ever had mixed buttermilk with beer? And
No.
like, it's really good. Makes a really good beer battered chicken. You mix
Oh.
buttermilk with your favorite beer, and then you marinate the chicken in it with flour. Oh, it's the best ever.
3/4 of a cup of buttermilk.
All right.
I really like seasoning my breading.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to add the same stuff to our buttermilk that we're adding to our
Makes
breading.
sense.
So we're going to do those same measurements just so that the oysters really get it.
Sounds good.
Last thing we're going to need to add is one of my favorite hot sauces of all time. Now these are oysters, so you could say Tabasco because that's really common with especially raw oysters.
That's what's
but-
really good with oysters.
and this is actually a hot sauce that is nostalgic for Mr. Sawyer and I because when we
Yeah.
were in college, every Saturday we would make omelets in our dining hall. And then we would always use.
Make breakfast burritos. Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, breakfast burritos.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
We've.
I'm just gonna.
Please forgive
I'm just
me.
gonna pack up right now. No, this episode's over.
Always find a way to include this Chipotle Cholula, or there was also like a green one.
Yeah.
That one's
was,
really good. But this one, you're sleeping on this, okay?
One eternity later.
So let's talk chowder. Chowder is serious comfort food if you're a seafood person, right? I mean, It's creamy, it's buttery, it's fishy. You've got potatoes, some sort of onion and garlic usually. How do you feel about chowder, Mr. Sawyer?
Oh, it's so good.
I
Probably eat chowder 30% of my lunches during the school years. Probably chowder.
So the cool thing about chowder is that it can kind of be whatever you want. Whatever seafood you like is what you can throw in there. I need to go acquire some rosemary. I'll be right back. Rosemary is kind of a secret ingredient for me. You don't see it a lot in chowder recipes, and that's why we're not going to use very much. Because rosemary is kind of overpowering. It likes to make a statement, be a drama queen. I have just a tiny sprig of rosemary in this recipe. I'm also going to add some tarragon. And tarragon is a really nice herb for fish, and if you're making like steamed clams, I like to do that. We're actually going to leave the dill to the side because I want it to kind of, dill will kind of like wilt away, you know,
Yeah.
in that soup as you cook it. We want it to be nice and bright at the end.
Yeah.
Kind of like a
Put it
little
on
pop
top
of,
as a garnish.
yeah, a little pop of flavor and color.
And a lot of times when you put dill on things, it'll be the first thing you taste.
Exactly.
You put it into your mouth.
Exactly. So we want it to kind of be like the first layer, and then you get the taste of everything else. We're not going to put very much.
Layering everyone. Just like ogres.
Onions. They stink?
Yes.
No. Oh, they make you cry?
No.
Oh, you leave them out in the sun, they get all brown, start sprouting little white hairs.
No. Layers.
Donkey!
Why does he sound like Gordon Ramsay?
You fucking donkey!
You know what we should sip on while we're making this?
What's that?
Some good old
Did you bring me something?
Moxie bourbon. Before Mr. May and I started cooking, we obviously had to go to the liquor store because
Obviously. Well, hang
we're
on.
making the blueberry margaritas.
So right now I'm just kind of, I've got these herbs kind of rolled up tight so that I can chop them easier. Not quite a chiffonade, but that way they're kind of broken down a little bit more so that they'll blend well with everything else. Ah, Moxie. And this works out great because we were talking about how those little cream things kind of taste like they belong in a root beer float. And my opinion of Moxie is that it sort of tastes like Coke and root beer combined. Would you agree?
Yeah, so if you don't know, if you haven't watched the last Name Big episode, I talked about this a little bit, but Moxie is pretty much Maine soda.
Yes.
It is the soda of Maine. It is distinctively different. It used to be more distinctively different. Now it's kind of just different. But yes, bourbon cream. If you haven't had a root beer float using bourbon cream, you're missing out. Because
We should probably have a disclaimer. This is 21 and older.
oh right, yeah,
Floats.
and you have to be legal unless you're like in Germany, then that age like 17. Anyway, bourbon cream. You want just like a bottle, just like a small bottle of this. You want to add the, you want to do the root beer first. You want to put in the bourbon cream second, I believe. So we're going to do the Moxie first, bourbon cream. This is the first time I'm actually trying these two mixed, but as Mr. May said, this is kind of like a root beer mixed with a Coca-Cola. I've had many friends tell me that Moxie tastes like if toothpaste was a soda.
That sounds like an untrained palate. So what I'm going to do first is just kind of, I've got 6 slices of bacon we picked up at Wegmans. This was just some nice like bacon they had in the deli. So it was cool because you can get it sliced to how many of the pieces you need. And honestly, I think that's the way to buy bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you end up with more bacon at the end. I don't know anybody that has that problem, but some people have that problem. And so what I'm going to do is just cut it into some pieces, like this. Just some, you know, we'll stack them on top of each other and slice them. We're going to heat our stock pot, start preheating it to about medium-high heat. For me, that's like number 6. On my range. Chowder, I don't know about you. I don't really like crispy bacon in the chowder.
Yeah.
I like to have it cooked, but kind of, you know, floppy, so it's not like all these little crunchy bits in my chowder. First things first, we're gonna add some butter. We need, I believe, a tablespoon of butter. Let's just double check that. Tablespoon of butter. We're gonna melt the butter, and we're actually gonna include something else.
Take a quick little break and have a little sip of this. Some Moxie with bourbon cream.
Cheers. Mm. That is fantastic.
That is, oh my gosh, it's so good.
We're gonna render this bacon down for about 5 minutes. And then we're also going to use that surprise guest I talked about. We have some smoked oysters.
It's always smoked, everyone.
Smoked
It's got
oysters.
smoked everything.
In case you haven't figured out
You
by
say
now,
this was smoked bacon too.
what we can do is use the oil with our butter.
That is ingenious, actually.
This thing is all business on the seafood from layer one. Would you say that chowder is a lot about how you layer it?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Let me bring the camera over just so that they can look inside the pot.
So we're gonna take our bacon. All right, we're gonna take our bacon, and I'm gonna go in the stock pot with the bacon, and this is just gonna go in for about 5 minutes. We're gonna let it cook. We want it to render the fat. Bacon's very fatty, obviously. We want it to render out that fat into more cooking fat, but not get crispy. So we're gonna have to kind of agitate this quite a bit. Sounds like a bell on coast.
Oh yeah.
As soon as it starts to look like it might be getting crispy, that's when we're going to come in and say nope, and add the next layer. We're going to need some celery. About 3 ribs of celery. A rib is like the individual pieces that you find on a heart of celery. Sometimes you can add onion, but here's the thing. We have about 2 leeks that we're going to put in this. So we don't really need onion. Leeks might as well be an onion and garlic combined. It's like a giant garlicky green onion when it comes in its original form.
We already chopped them earlier because I just didn't want to deal with them.
They do take a while. Well, they don't really.
They're dirty.
But they are hard to clean, and nobody likes a dirty leek. It's gonna be funny to try and remember whose establish knife is whose.
Here, I'll stab you, and whichever stabs quicker is mine. If you're ever committing seppuku, kids, don't get to twist. In twist, most people don't twist. It's a common misconception.
The way to dice them is you get your ends all set, and then you go like this. You cut through once, twice, kind of into 3s, and then you come through. Okay, so we got that. We have our leeks. These are going to break up. They're pretty fragile. So we have them. Right now, we pretty much just slice these. Yeah, we didn't dice them or anything, but they're gonna break up pretty quickly. So our bacon has rendered out all its fat. If you want, you can, come in with that shot. So we're gonna add our leeks first. Leeks are gonna go in. We're gonna let these cook down.
Oh yeah.
With the celery. We gotta make sure that we get them all tossed in with our fat so that they cook really nicely.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on that medium high heat. Yep, we're gonna get them all coated in that bacon fat, that butter, that smoked oyster oil. Get that all coated up. We're gonna let that go for about 3 to 4 minutes. And then it'll be time for our next layer. We did this morning. This is the other trick I talked about that is gonna come back later from that place. I can't remember what it's called. The cannery, maybe? I don't know. We'll have to look it up. We'll put it in there. They were awesome. I loved watching their chowder video.
Yeah.
It really helped me come up with this recipe. There was a couple of tricks that were really nice. Oh, I forgot. With this, we're going to add just a little pinch of that seaweed. And work that into. I cubed some potatoes in these are about 4 large potatoes. They weren't large, so there was more of them. Cubed into about 1/2-inch cubes, and I'm soaking them in water. Now, we're going to add a 1/2 cup of dry white wine in just a second here, and when we add that, we're going to mix it in a little, and then we're going to add all of this, including the water. So I soaked them in cold water for the last few hours before this video. And the cool thing about potatoes is when you soak them, they let off all of their starch. And the starch is a great natural thickener. So this is actually going to be a cooking liquid, and we're not going to need to use any flour or anything to thicken this chowder later because of how thick the potato water is going to make it.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're going to need that 1/2
This
cup.
is so much safer because when you're dealing with flour, this can get pretty just.
Not to mention,
lumpy.
I really don't like
Pretty
working
fast.
exactly, and I don't like the way that flour changes the color of stuff. It always kind of gives it that gross, like grayish, color if you put too much in.
We might
So
also
this
add
way-
in some lobster water as well. We
Yes.
also cook the lobster off camera, and if you ever want anything to taste more seafoody, just take some water that you use to cook seafood in, and boom, there you go.
We're gonna go in with our wine. Okay, half a cup of dry or semi-dry white wine. It can be a white wine of your choice. It can even be like a sherry, like a white sherry cooking wine, because that stuff's good. It's made pretty much exclusively for cooking, and so now this brings on a whole new flavor.
Oh yeah.
I love white wine with seafood. It's gonna cook down. There'll be no alcohol left.
Yes.
And it'll taste wonderful. Okay, so we have that. That's in. And then we come in with our potatoes. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Potato water's going in. This is like our cooking liquid. We're gonna add all of those potatoes. Potatoes are, in my opinion, they're a pretty big part of chowder.
Yeah, you can't really have chowder without potatoes.
Yeah. Right. And we have some yellow potatoes. I can't remember which ones these are. They're smaller. So we're gonna do that. And then that's in. And we are going to bring that to a simmer.
Okay.
Before we add our next step. So we're gonna measure out the liquid for our next step.
What is this, Mr. May?
That's another one of our seafood elements. That is some smoked trout.
Once again, more smoked stuff. It doesn't have to be trout though, right?
No, it could be haddock, but the smoked trout was the easiest thing we could find. Normally smoked haddock would be even more Maine-ish because haddock's a big thing there. I like to use, we might as well get into,
Oh yes. Oh, he's got that. That would be a cool Nathan Bake episode to do if we got an actual
Fishing?
trout
that would be cool.
and fillet of fish.
That's-
made something like fish.
Something over a campfire.
Yeah. I know you just chuck yours out, but what we could do, this is just spitballing, we could get a small frying pan, fry this, and put it on top as a garnish.
Good.
I don't know. I like to eat fish skin when it's fried well. That's just me. I'm one of those people. I don't know if Mr. May likes fish skin.
I do too.
I love it as a garnish. It kind of makes
So
it
now
look good.
the spots, there's all these like lines on the back from the body. That's kind of cool. Little marker for your knife. Another thing I love about smoked anything is the preservative factor. So when you smoke something, you really don't need to do anything else to it once it's done.
Yeah.
You know? A lot of times it's good to throw it in an oven or in a pan, finish it off, put a nice sear on the outside of whatever you're eating.
Right.
But it's done. And so that's one of the beauties of smoking. That's why it was very common for things to get smoked, right? When they were preserving food back in the day.
Smoked, pickled, that stuff.
This is gonna just sit here for a second. We're pretty much gonna be doing only seafood, so don't need to clean it or anything, because there's no cross-contamination. We're just chopping a bunch of seafood on here. I'm gonna season with some flaky salt, not pepper, because this is sea salt. So we're doing something that's very based on the sea, so I'm just gonna throw some of this in now, just to kind of work in and bring those flavors out while it's simmering. Again, that water was really cold, and so that shut down the cooking that was going on, and so now it's all got to work its way back up to a simmer. So I've got it up pretty high.
It would have been good if we used like whole peppercorns, I think.
Yes, that would have been good. Larry.
Larry the lobster. His cousin.
His cousin. This is not actually Larry the lobster.
Yeah. Larry the lobster was for the lobster mac and cheese. And the last
Oh! Take these rubber bands off.
Do you want the crusher claw or do you want the pincher? I'll do the crusher just because I like the crusher.
So here's the cool thing. When you're in Maine, you have to do your best to get your lobster from these things called lobster pounds. If you've never been to Maine before, a lobster pound is literally a restaurant or just a shack sometimes that's right on the water, and they either have their own boat or they work directly with boats. And they can be a distribution center or just a straight up restaurant, but they're right on the ocean. And so you can literally, if you see a dock, there's a good chance there's a lobster pound on it. I'm really excited to eat this one and see how it came out, because this was a hard shell that was just here at our store in New York, wasn't on the coast.
It's definitely shipped from somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's not going to be the same, but it's still going to be really good, because lobster has that really awesome, unique flavor.
Alright, so pretty much Mr. May and I, we're each going to take a claw.
Yep.
And because Larry's cousin is so small, you really don't need a crusher. You can just break it off with your hand.
Right.
So you want to just get the claw
Of
part.
course. He's leaking.
Yeah, he's leaking a lot.
Alright.
So a good way to break the claw when you don't have a crusher is you take your knife and then you firmly.
You can do it with the back, right? Or
I
the front, or the
do
front.
it with the front because
Okay.
you wanna just.
Beauty of these clef knives, they stand for chef cleaver.
Yes.
And so we can treat these a little bit like a cleaver with that. Oh, we're leaking. Uh-oh, uh-oh.
We'll return after these messages.
New from Lego Star Wars. The Clone Wars have begun, and the Jedi need help. You can build the
Start to have
There we
a
go.
little shell bucket, whether you're eating a lobster or breaking them down like we're doing right now.
So anyway, you gotta
Anyway.
take. Yeah, see, there we go. You gotta take your knife. You're gonna firmly hit it right
Whoa.
down and try to.
Careful.
And then you're gonna twist. There we go. And then you twist the knife.
Another thing you can always remember to do is take that bottom claw off.
Yep.
That one will twist right out,
There we are.
and that'll give you, sometimes there'll be meat, sometimes not. That's not really,
Oh no, you always want the meat out there.
oh really?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, see?
Oh.
It's all right there. I don't know why. When Gordon Ramsay did his tutorial video on how to break down a lobster, he didn't take the claw meat out of that tiny claw, and it kind of pissed me off.
Your Mainers, it'll tell you there's meat in every... Adios, buddy. Whoa. Okay, if it doesn't come intact, but look at that. Come on.
This came to what, 16? So just way cheaper to buy a lobster and just do it yourself.
And how long did it
Buy
take to steam the lobster? I mean,
7 minutes.
Yeah.
It takes 7 minutes.
you
to
take it,
warm.
you literally, some people, you know, they think it's humane to kill it first. You know, maybe it is. But you don't even have to do that. You
We
can-
actually don't know if they
We
can
don't,
feel
that's
it.
not really confirmed. And even if it is true, their pain is over pretty much instantaneously.
Mr. May, what is the one thing you cannot forget to do when you're eating the tail of a lobster?
You're eating the tail. You
Yeah.
cannot forget the poop chute.
There we are.
Lobster poop is green.
It's not green.
It's not?
No, it's not green. What are you talking about?
Oh, I don't know what I had then.
So there is the green stuff in
Maybe mine was
lobster
pregnant.
that Mr. May is talking about. Is I think it's called tamale. Maybe you didn't take out the poop chute. So we have the tail. What you want to do is you want to take off the end of the tail first.
But you can see, so the way I've got this going, all this is that meat inside the tail. So I'm starting to literally just peel the back, and then I can go bloop, like that.
So this is how you get the poop chute out. It's going to be up here at the dorsal top of the tail. Hello, sir. Peeled back, and so there is no poop in this one. Thank goodness. So
Thank
this
goodness.
thing is the poop chute.
Oh, maybe I did take it out and didn't know what it was.
Okay, so that's the poop chute.
Goodbye, poop chute.
This green stuff, you can eat it. Some people don't like the taste of it. I like the taste of it. Please tell me this was a pregnant one. It's not pregnant.
Sorry.
Dang it. Almost got all of the meat.
No, actually, I'll explain that later.
The trick with the rolling pin is you take a leg with the whole side facing away from you, and then you take the rolling pin and you're just gonna press it down, and you're gonna move it gently forward, and as you can see, there comes the meat out of the
Excellent.
leg. And as I said before, that is the leg meat is the sweeter meat, very much like crab.
So here's the cool thing that you've heard us talking about a little bit. When you have like leftover shells and, you know, just like fish parts and stuff, and you don't know what to do with it,
Like
you
a
don't.
fish head or
Yeah, like a fish, especially a fish head. Those are great for this. Or like juice from these cans, and you've got something sitting around. If you have a stock pot, seafood stock. Then, if you ever want to make a fish soup again or a fish chowder, you could throw some of this in if you want. Or there's all kinds of other fish soups that aren't chowder. They're a call for a seafood stock.
You can even freeze it.
You can freeze it when you're done.
My dad freezes it, and you have a lot of seafood.
And that's probably what I'm gonna do exactly, is make seafood stock. So what I did is I had these canned clams from Bar Harbor. They come in juice. They're cooked. They come in juice. So I emptied the juice. Oh, it's very clammy.
Oh yeah.
The thing about clam stock or seafood stock, it's very, very seafoody. So you don't need much when you're cooking something with seafood stock. It will, even people who love fish can get overwhelmed by how powerful seafood stock becomes. That's okay.
Have you ever like just cooked like 100 clams and then like the water afterward just put in like a nice mug and put some Tabasco sauce in it and drink it?
No, but that sounds really good.
That is, whenever we cook clams in my family, my dad always makes my mom save the water, and when it's still hot, we put in mugs, put a little bit of Tabasco sauce in, and you just drink the clam water. It's so good just to like sit down on a nice lazy boy watching a movie, sipping your nice clam water.
Okay, so now I'm gonna measure out our liquid for the broth, because right now I'm heating a bottle of vegetable oil in a Dutch oven. Need a cup of heavy whipping cream. If you can find where it says on the thing, you're looking for something that's at least 35% cream. That way it won't split. I have a cup, and then I'm gonna also throw a cup and a half on top of that of whole milk. Okay, make sure it's whole milk. Anything else isn't gonna work quite as well because it won't, it'll split easier. So we're gonna go up to 2.5 cups. There it is. And that's gonna be the final liquid for our chowder. You can see there's a lot of creaminess there, so that's where our creamy broth is going to come from, is that heavy whipping cream and that whole milk.
Now, in my humble opinion, New England chowder is far superior to Manhattan chowder.
Yes, and that is, I guess we should have specified what we're making today. This seafood chowder is a New England seafood chowder, which, as you can tell, has a very creamy broth. Manhattan clam chowder, it's good, but it's not like this. It's not this good.
I never eat it. I was just thinking like, okay, we've got clams, we've got oysters, we've got crab, we've got
This seafood
lobster,
chowder, this stuff is
trout.
What's your favorite seafood?
Well, other than lobster, I feel.
Okay, other than lobster.
I have to say shrimp. It's just you can do so much with shrimp.
Smell those, man.
Oh, it smells good. Okay, salmon's a close second though, because shrimp, like, I love it in linguine, I love it in soup, I love it like with just cocktail. I mean, shrimp is just so diverse. Salmon though, I mean, good salmon fillet over like a succotash or something.
Salmon's
so
good. Scallops are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's where your thermometer comes in. We want this to get to...
I use nature's thermometer.
Oh, please don't do that. Another thing, shrimp shells. Shrimp shells can go in the stock pot.
In the stock.
We don't even need a garbage can anymore.
No.
Now we are taking the shells off these shrimp.
Lucky for us, they've already gotten their poop chute taken out.
Yes.
Now these are fresh sea scallops.
Yep. Please get sea scallops. Bay scallops are just not my favorite. The flavor's not as good. They cook too fast, so they turn into little rubber balls. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna quarter them. I'm just gonna come in like this.
We're gonna draw and quarter them.
Draw and quarter.
Because they've been naughty.
Sometimes you have to be careful. There's like a thing called some people call it a foot. A little muscle that comes up. There's one right here. Little foot. This thing turns into a piece of rubber when you cook it. I think you have one right there in your hands too. I would say we want to get to about 365, 370 for degree temperature for the Fahrenheit for the oil for those oysters. Once we get there, we're going to start frying pretty much immediately so that it doesn't keep heating.
Yep.
Because otherwise, if that oil continues to get hot, it will burn the outside of your coating, and you'll have not great cooked oysters on the outside. That goes for anything, frying chicken, anything. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to add cream and the whole milk.
By the way, Luke has been soaking the raw oysters in that wet liquid though.
Oh yes, we should. Sorry, that's in the recipe. Yeah, those have just been chilling in there because it was easier for me to leave them. You soak them, and then what we're gonna do is kind of shake off the excess. They'll go in the dry.
Yep.
Shake off the excess, and in fact, what we can do right now. Oh,
is that Mrs. May?
It is. It do be her. Hi.
Oh, they're so cute.
Did you get the second thing at once?
It's mine.
Oh my gosh.
ta-da!
We're almost
It's
done.
my wife, everybody.
It's Mr. May's wife. The incomparable Mrs. May.
That's right. She is incomparable. Thank you.
I give a good close-up on smoked trout, lobster, clams, crab, shrimp, scallops. Sorry, oysters. Smoked oysters, shrimp, scallops, more oysters, bacon. Ah. What do we got? What's the temperature?
We're at about 300.
300. What do we need at again?
We wanna be
365?
About 365. While that's finishing heating, we're gonna batter these. There's not too many. Now make sure that you remove, there's like hard parts on these. I didn't get all of them. Those aren't gonna taste very good. You want your oysters to be an even consistency. But I broke the first rule of frying, Nathan. I got both my hands wet. When you're frying something, you've probably heard this on other cooking shows, you always need a wet hand and a dry hand. That way you don't goop up your bowls. Dry stays dry, wet stays wet, and you have a consistent product in the end. So, shake it off.
Shake it off. Shake
Boom.
it off. Is that
Oh, that's actually making me sick to my stomach.
Why?
I don't know.
It's all seafood.
Is it raw?
Yeah.
That one's raw.
Well, yeah.
It's raw!
Yeah. You gotta cook it still.
I don't like seeing raw things.
Boom.
That looks like a crisp bowl of soup.
When you're frying stuff, you need to make sure you remember to lay it away from you.
Yeah, you don't want oil.
And these are not going to take very long, so I'm gonna put them all in. Now you watch for them all to float.
Yep.
They're all floating, we'll take them out.
We already got some floaters.
Put them on a paper plate, or a plate with a paper towel.
Oh, look at those.
And they are all floating, so you rip them out so they don't overcook.
Look at those bad boys right there. We'll take a break.
Oh, those look like the ones in Maine.
Yeah,
What's that?
that is the seaweed.
Did you do that to it?
Yeah, well Nathan did most of that part.
Did you do it in the thingy?
Oh, Mr. May,
What?
you left an entire oyster in the
Oh no!
liquid.
I thought they were all. Oh. Oh well. Wait now. Okay, we should plate these while they're hot.
Looks alive.
Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, Nathan.
Oh.
I really hope you don't get sick from that. All right, so
There you go.
some plating 101.
Do this, and then you're gonna use the back of the spoon.
Probably need a little more.
I'm just gonna start with that much.
Well, it was a saucy base, so I would do
saucy
some
base?
more. Yeah, I would do more.
Okay.
That was part of our. So again, these are our attempt at recreating those Eventide Oyster Company fried oysters. That were so freaking amazing that we had.
So amazing.
Mrs.
that
May is
Mr.
here.
May-
She was with me because we were on our honeymoon.
I can confirm it was the best dish we had.
It was, and it was the free one. So thank you very much. Okay, that's going well so far. Yep, so you use the back of your spoon.
How big of a circle do you want?
Big enough to hold all these oysters.
Oh, okay.
So you can look at how they are right now. And
Yeah.
I would cover that little droplet, and
Yep.
probably after that, you're good.
Cover them with steak is what he's trying to say.
Now we're gonna drop the oysters on.
Oh yeah.
Just hurry up and do it while they're still hot. Okay. Okay, get in there with them oysters.
I'm gonna
Okay.
drizzle this on the top.
We have a gentle drizzle over the top of that.
focus.
That focus.
Excellent. Yes. Okay, and then let's hit it up. So then at the end, I'm not sure what they used. I thought it was Thai basil, but I'm not so sure now. But we have our Thai basil. It's still gonna taste good. So now we're hitting it with some Thai basil on the sides and some
Cilantro leaves.
cilantro leaves. Kind of all over. We're probably not moving nearly as fast as the people that made this did, but they do this dish all the time, and we don't. Maybe a couple more, because they had really nice big cilantro leaves, I noticed.
Yeah.
And these aren't quite as big, and that's okay. Okay.
These two. It's a work of art.
It is. So we get in there.
Yep.
They're melting like the ones I had did.
Cheers.
Cheers. Mmm. Good, right?
I can see why Hannah married you.
Can Hannah try one?
So, I've entered the final layer.
Yes.
Onions have layers. Ogres
Luke Mays have layers.
I have layers.
Uh-huh.
You have layers.
Do I?
You know what else has a layer?
What else has a layer? Oh,
Chowder.
yeah. The chowder.
Of course.
Flavors.
Final layer. We have, even this has layers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The smoked trout, lobster,
I'm going to pour this baby in.
crab meat, clam meat, crab meat, smoked oysters. We have our shrimp and our scallops. All right. In we go with all of our meat. You could have done this in separate things, but it's okay. We're gonna cook this all for about 5 minutes, just to be safe.
We're getting the skillet nice and hot so that we can add that nice trout skin.
And what are we doing with that trout skin?
We're gonna use it as garnish on top. Frozen blueberries, and triple sec, some nice simple syrup, cocktail essentials,
Really, really simple recipe.
and some Jose Cuervo, the blue agave, which is stuff we use at Nolan's actually. So
We've got some dill here. Now, dill is a really nice garnish for chowder. In small amounts. We don't want to use too much because it's a very strong herb. We don't want to overpower it, right? And we also don't want to put it in. I said earlier we don't want to put it in at the beginning because it'll die really quickly.
yeah,
In our soup, and so we're gonna kind of leave it off. This is probably enough to garnish the 3 bowls we're gonna eat right now.
oh definitely. Yeah. Now the skillet is sizzling. We're gonna drop this skin side down. That's important. There we are.
Nathan, do we have a recipe for this margarita?
No.
Oh,
Well, we're just gonna wing it, everyone.
this is the one thing that
We've
we
made
are.
margaritas before, so
We've-
how we're
Yeah, this is the one thing that we are going to. Oh wait, no, we have actual blueberries. Okay, in with the blueberries. Add about 100 milliliters of the tequila. So then, in this case, half the bottle. Okay.
I'm here. I'm bored.
Okay. Then we're going to add.
I'm dead.
No, not you too.
Then we're going to add our triple sec.
Oh.
Triple sec, we're probably going to add about also 100 milliliters, and then simple syrup.
Yeah.
You bought simple syrup?
Oh. Wow. There we are. This is good. That is going to be a hot skillet. I'm just going to leave it up there for now. Okay.
Look at the steam rolling off of that.
Oh, yeah.
Some bacon in there?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
It's a thick chowder.
Obviously the lobster meat was cooked because we steamed it. Your shrimp should be about this color, indicating that they're cooked.
Yeah.
So this is telling me that the scallop, because the scallop doesn't change color, that's cooked as well. And it was only 4 minutes really, maybe like 5 by the time we set the timer.
Yeah.
5 at the max though. It doesn't. This liquid's so hot, it does not take long for everything to cook. And again, if you have anything that's canned, it's already cooked, and so you're good there. So we are going to have, now it's gonna be hot, so what we might do is pour this and let it sit for a second. Go ahead and really dig down, yeah. Okay.
Hey.
Trying to look out for
Excuse
your
me.
health. Sorry, Hannah gets very excited about certain things, and
Thank you.
Needs
It's all
to
about
go
the
back.
way you say it,
Yeah.
not what you say.
let's see what we got here.
Mmm. Mmm. Mmm.
Oh yeah.
This is the thing for you if it's seafood.
This is the
you like
best
seafood.
thing I've had probably this year. I'm not lying. Can I have a little bit of that?
Yes.
Alright, let's make those margaritas go with this.
Scout is hot. Might get a few blueberry chunks.
That's fine. We like blueberry. Excuse me?
Also gets impatient.
Oh. Oh man,
That was a thing to do. That was it. Oh.
that's freaking good. Wow.
This is so satisfying.
So what we have,
now,
we had-
but I'm so warm.
Blueberry margarita, good old seafood chowder, and deep fried oysters.
Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
Nate and Bake.
This is Story Series, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe, click the bell icon if it's not on, join the Discord, and comment what you liked about this and what other recipes you'd like us to do next time.
Cheers.
This is Luke, Hannah May, and myself, Nathan Sawyer. See you on the next video. Peace out.
Peace out.